Okay, should be live right now. I'm going over to YouTube just to see. It says it's starting the stream there, so it may or may not be already broadcasting. Let's go ahead and see if I can get this link. It's going to be youtube.com/ I think it might be /FeelYourPhotos/live. Let's see if that works. Yes, looks like it. Okay, so it does look like it is working. I'm going to pause that on my end so that I don't get a feedback loop. And let's go ahead and take this link, and I'm going to send it over to my brother to see if it's working. And then I'm going to post it in the Facebook group. Caleb, just tell me if that link is working, and then maybe try to give me an idea about the delay time.
Okay.
It's so weird because I have it paused and I'm like talking, and so it's like, whoa, I'm not moving. All right, let's see here. I can close that. Should be able to. It's working?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Count for me and tell me if you can get a delay.
10 seconds.
10 seconds?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, let's go ahead and move this over to Facebook group. All right, I'm still typing this over here, and I'm going to put a new link. All right, so if you are here and you want to comment, all you have to do is be signed into your Google account or your YouTube account, and it should let you comment. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit to post this in the group as well. And then I'm going to pull up my screen here to see. Okay, so if you're here, I would love to hear from you. Go ahead and type something in the chat so that I can see you're here. If you're able to do that, that'd be really helpful. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just get started here on some website reviews. I'm going to start here with some of the people who bought me a cup of coffee. Thanks so much for that. Let's see if we can pull one that's really easy to get to. All right, Judy, let's see if we can find hers in my list. There it is. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pull that up on the screen. In fact, what I'm going to do is, instead of going to the website directly, I'm going to start by doing a brand search here in Google. All right, so one of the first things that I really love to do whenever I am doing a site review, I got a comment from Soda City Moto. What's up, Caleb? All right, and Judy, by the way, if you're here, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to see that you're able to comment here and be able to, interact while I'm reviewing this site. That'd be great. If you're not here, that is totally fine as well. I'm going to go over to the group really quick and tag you just so that you know. And this is super informal. It's a live stream, so it doesn't have to be, it's not like a polished presentation or anything like that. Let's say Judy. See if I can do Judy. See if I've got you. There you are. All right, went ahead and commented and tagged you there. Oh, look, she said, I'm here listening. Okay, so if you can comment over on the other video, it'll show up in my feed much easier. But I will try to come back over here to Facebook if you can't comment there. Okay, Judy, let's go ahead and take a look at your site. So again, the first thing I like to do when reviewing any website, any brand, is to go ahead and do a site search. All right, or not a site search. Well, I'll do a site search as well, but to do a brand search. And one of the reasons that I like to do that is because whenever we're thinking about SEO, we don't want to just think about optimizing a website. We want to think about optimizing a brand's presence, an entity's presence on the web. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and let me go over here to studio mode. Hang on just a second, and let's make sure this is going to work. All right, I'll keep myself on there for now. Hang on just a minute. Caleb, can you check for me one more time and tell me if it's sharing the screen? I can't remember if I have to go to a different place to do that.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so it's sharing the screen right now?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so we have to think about every business like an entity. That's how Google sees them. They see any person, place, thing, idea as an entity that they can map out on their graph. It's called the knowledge graph, or the knowledge, I guess that's what they call it. I can't remember if that's Facebook's term, but it's basically what it is. There's this graph of entities, and they like to try to find connections and figure out how all of these entities are related. And everything that they pick up about this entity is mapped back to that entity, and it's helpful in understanding how to rank that entity amongst other entities whenever someone searches for a particular keyword, because those keywords are also mapped to these entities. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to do a little bit of a brand audit and see how things are showing up. Now, right off the bat, we have some good news and bad news here. Good news, we've got a knowledge graph panel here. And that is really great. That means you're verified on Google My Business. You're showing your address. That's great. You have 8 5-star reviews. That's a good thing. Now it looks like you have 86 reviews on Facebook. If that's your business, and I assume that it probably is. Yep, Aberdeen. It must be. So, I would love to see some of these coming over to Google, or, in the future, spending a lot more effort getting people to review you on Google, because 8 is a great start, but I would still love to see this be as high as this. If you had 86, that would certainly make a difference in your rankings. All right, so the bad news is that your Facebook page seems to be outranking your website when you do a brand search, at least from me. Now, if you're searching in Scotland right now, you may see something different. Your website may show up first. It could be that Google says, hey, because you are in the US, this Facebook page is probably going to be a more consistent website for you, that we know it's going to load fast. We know it's going to live up to all the standards of cross country optimization and things like that. So maybe you would see this site differently in Scotland. That's one thing to keep in mind. I always try to keep that in mind when I'm not doing a search over a some sort of lost the word for it right now. It's going blank. Of course, you do this whenever you're talking live, wherever you mask your location. And so right now I'm not going to be worried about that. Right, I just want to get an idea. So that's something just to keep in mind. Now, whenever I see that kind of thing, it's not like, okay, here's an exact tip on how to fix this. It's not something you can just fix that easily. Typically, it has to do with what Google sees to be relevant, and it could be that one of the things is the fact that this has 86 votes, and we see the star rating, and it's a rich snippet. And they say, this is really relevant. This is probably what people are looking for when they type in her name. They want to see what people have to say. We know that Facebook has more information than we do, more information than this website even, potentially. So let's just go ahead and send them there. That could be part of it. Okay, so just trying to point all this stuff out and spending a little time on talking about these things, since other people are watching as well, and it may be helpful for other people. Okay, so let's go ahead and dig into, we'll go ahead and look at the rest of this. First of all, I like the fact that you have some YouTube results showing up here. It looks like you have someone else who uploaded this promo video. If this is like a videographer you worked with and they uploaded this video, I'm just doing a refresh over here in the Facebook group to see if you were not able to comment on the YouTube video. Let's see here, where'd it go? It didn't say anything. Okay, it's fine. Okay, so just pull that back up here. Okay. Yeah, so if this is a videographer who made this video and you could get them to, okay, you said yes, the video is from someone else. If you could get them to give you the video and you could put it on your own YouTube channel, that could be potentially helpful, give you more control over the optimization here so that you can make a better title, make sure that their capitalization is correct, make sure there's a good description, all of those kinds of things. But as it is, at least it's going to you and it's something that people can watch, and hopefully at least this would link to your website. Let's see. So if I go and watch this, it's got 10 views right now. All right, it does not go to your website. So at least I would try to ask the videographer if they can put a link in the description over to your website. Like I said, it would be ideal if you got that video and it was on your YouTube channel instead of theirs. And maybe even ask them to make it private or unlisted. Maybe they want to show it off as well, and that depends on your contract and your relationship with them. But that's just something, if you can control this kind of thing, it's better whenever someone searches for your brand. And people might be thinking, why are we searching for their brand? That's not going to help us with SEO. But you'd be surprised at how many people actually do search for your brand. Whenever they've heard of you from someone else, whenever they have, they maybe found you. Let's say they met in person at a bridal show. Let's say, or I guess you're not doing wedding photography. I haven't gotten that far yet. Let's say you met at some, other location. You handed them a business card, whatever, and they go and they just search for your name. Well, they're going to still be doing research at that point, and they want to find the best information possible about you. And so making sure that all of these results are controlled by you and curated by you is really important. Okay, so then, Aberdeen Beginners DSLR workshop. Okay, this is, another one of those things that's good because it can show that you're an authority even to potential clients, showing, hey, she teaches photography, so that's probably helpful. I would still try to work on the description here and say, sends people over to the part of your site that talks about these workshops. Elizabeth said that the link's not working for her. Yeah, let me know if anyone else, I guess you won't be able to see this if it's not working for you. So far, it seems like people have been able to get to it. So let's see if there's a more direct link that I can share. Hey, Caleb, can you do me a favor? See if you can find me a link that's any different than the one that I already shared. Okay. I'm going to head back over here. No, it does not. Okay, so hey, we have Judy commenting in the video chat now. Awesome. So it's not linked to the website. Yeah, so if you can, make sure that these YouTube videos are linking back over to your website. That's going to be helpful. And let's go ahead and go to your website. Okay, so first of all, you have inline site links here. Ideally, what I like to see on a brand search is for your site to come up at the top and there to be underneath site links. So 1, 2, 3, 4, like this, 2 here in columns. That's or 3 and 3 sometimes. That's the ideal kind of site links. But these inline site links at least show that Google does understand some of your site structure and thinks that these could also be helpful. Let's go ahead and go to the home page. And before we even dig into this, let's do one more thing here in the search. We're going to do, well, let's copy it from here. And this may be helpful. We won't necessarily dig into this quite yet, but we'll have it up. Photography. Okay, cool. Just making sure that your site is indexed properly. We'll get into that here in a minute. Okay, let's go to the website. All right. So first thing I like to do is just get an overview. Kind of see if I can share any first impressions. Go back to this real quick. Okay. All right, so first of all, I like what I'm seeing here. I think that this site is well laid out. It's working well for me. It is. It seems, I haven't checked to see, but it looks like it would be responsive. The sections seem to be pretty intuitive. The information that I would want to find seems to be available. I haven't really dug in. The colors are consistent. The branding really is simple, but also it has some personality. It doesn't look like everyone else. It's not like really boring. Your fonts are easy enough to read. The script font maybe, slightly difficult, but for some people, but I can read it quickly. All right, so I'm just going to refresh this one more time just to kind of see what happens right away when I get to this site. Relaxed family portraiture. Find out more. kids, big ones, little ones, and all the in-between ones. Newborn, simple and natural newborn photography. Workshops, beginners DSL workshops. Get off auto. Commercial, standout imagery for your brand. Relaxed family portraiture. Okay, so I really like the fact that you have put time into thinking about not just calling this, family, kids, newborns. Like, I mean, that is kind of how it is here, and that's totally fine. That's how I would expect it to be. But I do like the fact that you have some words that describe what it is would be people would be clicking or getting when they click here. Now, one of the things that you have to understand is that I'm sitting here looking at this website slowly and carefully, trying to get some ideas about all the stuff going on here. Most people are going to be a little bit more in a hurry, and statistics say and studies show and all kinds of tracking that I've done proves that people don't typically sit here and look at a slider like this to try to get through, to try to figure out where they want to go on the site. So as far as navigation goes, this is kind of a secondary thing. People most likely won't ever even spend the time to go past relaxed family portraiture. So if that's your main thing, I'm glad you have that on the first slide. Whatever it is needs to be on the first slide. Hey, Candy, what's up? And by the way, anyone else who's here, I'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and type into the chat. Tell me where you're from. What's up? How's it going for you? What time is it where you are right now? I guess we're looking at this site in Scotland. It must be, let's say, probably, is it 9:30 or 10:30 there? Maybe 8:30? I think it's probably 9:30 there. I'm starting to get pretty good at world times. I have clients all over the world, and I have to kind of keep track of that. All right, so... All right, let's go ahead and let's just assume. One of the other things that I like to do here is I like to say, okay, what is the first thing that I would want to do? What's up, Tina? She's watching from Tucson, so it's probably, I guess it's, you're in Mountain, so it's, what, 1:30 there? Or 2:30. Yeah. Anyway, so I like to see what's the first thing I would do if I were on the site. And the first thing I would probably have done here, just out of curiosity, is that I would want to probably see more about this. Okay, so I have a family, so I'm coming from this perspective of family photography. I'm not as interested in some of these other things. Don't have little babies anymore, so I'm just, again, going totally personally. If I were at this site, what would I do? So this is easier for me to put it completely into my perspective. If I were looking for a family photographer, let's just view it that way. Okay, so Aberdeen family photographer. Okay, we have a gallery. I like the fact that when I look at this gallery at a glance, I can see a consistent style, a consistent... What's up, David? I'm just kind of checking out websites here, talking to photographers about, just my thoughts on viewing their websites. We're going to talk a little bit about SEO, kind of general ideas, things like that. All right, but I do like the fact that whenever I view this, I see, the style is consistent. We can see a lot of outdoor photos. We see people in fields and parks. We have flowers. It's very, if this is the kind of thing that I'm looking for, I see it it firmly sets that expectation. Like, this is the kind of result that I'm going to get because it's so consistent across the board. So that's a really strong positive. That's one of the things that I do like about the grid that has a lot of images all at once. The thing I don't like about these grids is that the square crop makes it so that you don't necessarily get to see the cropping the way that you have it. And if you're using the rule of thirds, or if you're just really good at framing a subject and environment, you don't really get the full effect of that. But that's still, if I want to, I'm assuming I can just click, expand these. These images are really sharp and pretty. I'm assuming, I haven't really put this through anything. Let's go ahead and do it really quick while I'm thinking about it. C-Bus, what's up, Jojo? All right, let's just put that through here because I'm curious to see how well these are compressed, because those seem like they're pretty large images. All right, relaxed, natural, and heartwarming portraiture. Okay, that one was a little bit hard for me to read. I did get it, but this font is a little bit challenging. I would say some people may have a hard time reading this or have to spend too much time reading this for them to be able to skim it. Keep in mind that whenever I'm sitting here trying to read something, that's not the goal. Is to like see if you can read it if you squint just right or whatever. It's can someone skim this page and quickly pick up on what that heading says. All right, so if you're like me, then blah, blah, blah. I'm really just trying to skim because I want to kind of keep these quick. So we have a testimonial here. Could read. You might also like to know about your shoot. Aberdeen area. How to prepare for the shoot. Meet together for coffee. Chat with the phone. Okay, that sounds good. Pricing. I do like that you have that here. And by the way, with the mobile first indexing that everyone's been talking about, one of the things that's actually potentially good about this is that Google does, they've said multiple times that these drawers or sliders are okay. They understand that with the move toward mobile optimization, that people need to be able to kind of not necessarily hide, but they need to be able to compress a lot of information down into a less cluttered area. And so that putting text a long time ago, not even that long ago, a couple of years ago, if you put text in drawers and things like this, it might be the fact that Google would say, we're not going to use that for indexing. We're not going to value that as much. But now everything that I've heard has said that Google is definitely going to be using this text within these kinds of drawers and sliders just as much. But I haven't done any testing. I would still be skeptical without having lots of case studies. Mobile first hasn't necessarily rolled out across the entire web. It's kind of a mixed bag right now, so it's hard to say for sure. But just saying, it's good to have this text here. And then you have some good information. That's good. And then book now or art and albums. Okay, one thing I might suggest here as far as a conversion tip is to see if you can you have to think about whether people are going to be ready to go ahead and book now from this. And the fact is they may be, but you may want to say something like schedule your call or schedule a consultation or get in touch or something that is maybe a little less like book now means I'm going to pull out my wallet and pay for it right now. In my mind, that's what that means. So I would potentially think about, what's the very next step that someone needs to take? Is it to go ahead and contact you? Is it to, schedule a consult, like I said? Something like that might be a better call to action here, and then make this one more obvious than this one. I do like the fact that I can go look at art and albums, especially if I'm looking for a family photographer. I do want to know, what am I going to do with these photos? And it's cool that you have this here. This is really nice. I like that. And then you have ready to book. Get in touch via the contact page. I would make this a link as well, or make this the main link. But this just works fine. Let's go ahead and just go to that now, because that's probably the next thing I would have done. Contact Judy Link Photography. I like this. Please feel free to pick up the phone, call me, or fill out the contact form. Can't wait to hear from you. I'm just filling this out because I want to see what happens when I hit submit. Sorry for clogging up your inbox or whatever. Okay, so we do have a form submission. Thanks for your message. I'll be in touch within the next 24 or 48 hours. One thing you definitely could think about here is using a thank you page. I'm sure you probably already know about that, but I do have, it's not here. I don't have a shortcut to it, but it's right here on the Feel Your Photos blog. I have an article about thank you pages for photographers. All right, so definitely something to think about there. Right after that submission, if we can get people to go to a thank you page, that would be ideal. But at least you have a message, and it doesn't just like hang up on the form or anything like that, so that's good. Oops, something went wrong. Okay, so this is definitely not something you want to see on a contact page, especially after confirmation, because even though I can see this says didn't load Google Maps correctly, the JavaScript console, see the JavaScript console for technical details, not something I want to see on the user end. If I just submitted that tip and I scrolled down and I saw this, I'm like, oh wait, I wonder if my form went through. And so definitely look into this Google Map set up and make sure that you have it set up correctly. You may have to go into the Maps API and activate the right kind of, I forget what they're called, but there's some instructions online with these plugins usually, so definitely check into that. Okay, let's go back to the homepage. I'm going to give you a few more tips. We're going to talk a little bit more about SEO here. All right, so Aberdeen photographer, doing photography based in Kingswell. That's a really, you do have a good title here. I like the way that you have this set up. I like the fact that you're targeting a general term with your homepage. Aberdeen photographer makes a lot of sense whenever you have, you know, at least 6 different types of photography that you're targeting, and then it makes a lot of sense to target these individual types of photography on these internal pages. And this is one of those things that comes up a lot. People are always asking, you know, should I use my homepage to optimize for newborn if that's the main thing I want to do, or should I make a newborn page that optimizes for newborn, and what should I do with the homepage? And in this case, I think that what you're doing is probably the best thing for you, because typically the keywords like Aberdeen photography or Aberdeen photographer do actually get some volume. And so being able to rank for that, since you do all kinds of photography, is probably beneficial, especially the commercial. You'll see that a lot of people searching for a commercial photographer will be typing in those general terms anyway. And so, you know, that's something that's really going to be helpful for you. I think it's smart in this particular case. The confusing thing here is that I often tell people that it's not quite that straightforward, because sometimes what will happen is your internal pages are going to be extremely hard to rank for these other terms. So if you are trying to really heavily compete for family photography or newborn photography, it may be hard to compete against someone whose sole purpose, whose only optimization is around that one topic. And so typically that's why I'm going to be telling people to use their homepage if they are really heavily leaning towards a specific type of photography that they want to optimize for, because it's typically going to be your strongest page for a few reasons. One, because it has the most authority, it has the most links coming to it, but also because, like I said a minute ago, Google sees, hey, they're optimizing their main page of their site. That's probably the main thing that they do. It's their main focus. It's what this site is all about. So it makes a better result for someone searching for newborn photography. That being said, it's certainly possible to rank these internal pages. Let's go ahead and look at one more time. We'll go back to, there we go. Let's just look at a different one. Newborn. So Aberdeen newborn photographer, and having the location. A lot of people ask me about this. Like, should I have the location in the URL? And the way that you've done it here, this makes a lot of sense. It's totally acceptable and actually ideal in your case to do it exactly like you've done it. Perfect. Simple, natural, and all about your baby. So one of those things that could probably help you out a little bit here on this page is to maybe include a little bit more information about the area if possible. I know it's really hard, but like what you've done here is a really good start. Okay. I didn't see if this is, I guess this is different than the one on the family page. That's good. It looks like it's specific to newborn. Great. I assume that this information is going to be different and specific. That one looks like it's probably the same. And this isn't going to be a problem for like duplicate content necessarily, but it could be one of those things where because it's the same, it almost gets discounted and doesn't really count toward helping optimize for any of the terms that you do happen to use in this, which is okay. Like, it's not something that is a big deal, but this does say in the morning of your newborn shoot, and so I assume that you did customize it some, and so that's good. I think you've done the right thing here. I'm not worried about any kind of duplication there. But what I'm saying is, like, if there's anything that you can do to mention Aberdeen or any locations that people might be searching for naturally within this text, it's probably going to be a little bit helpful. I don't think there's much else you can do, though. I think what you've done here is really smart. It's really good. You've got a lot of good stuff going on here. Let's go over here. Okay, notice whenever I click on what did I click for that to happen? Okay, so if I click information in the main navigation, it just goes to an about blank. You want to make sure to set this link up with a hashtag or pound sign at least. That should send it back to the same page that you're on. But for some reason now it's going to maybe it's opening in a new tab. I don't know exactly what it's doing there. I have to look at the code. Let's go to pricing. So one of the interesting things here is that this says family photographer costs. Okay, so but then this talks about newborn, babies, children and families, commercial headshots. So it might be something where you want to change the URL so that it matches what's on the page. Again, the book now thing, like are people going to pull out their wallet, or is this just going to the contact? So this is sending an email. Okay, I would definitely recommend sending people to the contact page over an email, although that's up to you. Like I'll tell you, let me just show you what happens if I click on this. It's opening on my other screen, but I'll pull it over. This is what pulled up. I've never set this up. I do not use Outlook. I do not use Windows Mail. I do not use anything else. I don't have my Gmail set up so that it pulls the mail to links. I would say if I don't, and I'm a pretty technical user, that a large percentage of other people also don't have it set up. So having a mail to link is one of those things, in my opinion, that is not always convenient. Sending them to the contact page would be a consistent experience. And if you want to put your email address and your phone number down here as well, that would be a good idea for you. I like that you have the information about the reveal. I like that you have the sub-nav or the lower navigation. There's a lot of really good stuff here. All right, I'm gonna check out one more thing. You might actually just have to go on my list of great examples of photography websites. I want to look at your blog and see how things are going here. I wonder, Judy, maybe you can tell me, have you been following along in the Facebook group and some of the conversations that we've been having? Because it looks to me like you have updated the way that you're doing your titles more recently, and they look more like what I would like to see up here, so that they're not competing with your main keywords. It looks like once we start to get down here, even Aberdeen headshot photographer, you have to ask yourself, is this post the one place on your entire website that you want someone to go whenever they search for Aberdeen headshot photographer? Let's actually do that search. Again, I'm searching from the US. I'm not worried about adjusting anything right now. And you do show up with that page, which is great. But this is a post, whereas these other cornerstone pages that you have, these gallery pages, are interesting. Because see, in the navigation, you have commercial headshots, but it goes to the commercial photographer page. So I think maybe it's worth figuring out, is commercial photography and headshot photography, are those two different things? Why do you need a professional headshot? This is a good result for someone who's searching for a headshot photographer. You just might want to think about, do you want this experience to be consistent with your other galleries? Do you want to make this a page instead of a post? But as far as you have it right now, this seems like a good cornerstone post for headshot photography. I would just try to keep it consistent so that in your navigation, if this is commercial headshots, and then we come back over here, and then we see commercial, I think maybe somewhere else you called it commercial photography. Just try to be consistent with that. But yeah, you did a really good job with that revamp then, and it sounds like you're definitely learning with the blog post titles. You have some things that are already ranking really well. If you have any other questions, go ahead and type them in now, because I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next review. But I hope this has been at least helpful in thinking about a few things. For the most part, I'm not getting into like the really technical SEO stuff. Oh, I will do this. I wanted to show you the site search, and we do have a bunch of, looks like, images that are being indexed. Some archives that probably don't need to be indexed. So let's just see. Yeah, that's definitely an image attachment page. Just trying to figure out, okay, if you're using Yoast, you are. So one of the things I would recommend is to go watch the recent YouTube video that I put up about Yoast SEO and setting up the plugin, and it'll show you about how to, you just want to check that box that says to redirect the image attachments to the image, and that will help a lot with this. And then just look through, I explain a little bit more about the archives and indexing in that video, so check that out. It might be helpful for you. Okay, Judy, I'll give you a second to go ahead and type in any other questions. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, I didn't pull this up. Wow, look at that. That is impressive. Your gallery page that I was wondering if it was going to be a large load is saying it's 1.64 megabytes and loading in 2.6 seconds. That's really good. Definitely did something right. All right. Start closing some of this. Definitely work on getting those reviews over to Google. Use YouTube videos. If you can clean those up and point them towards you, that's great. All right, let's see who's next on our list. Next up, we have Doug. If you're still watching, you are next on my coffee tippers list, but you asked me if you need a website review. Let's do this. How about you and I do a episode sometime in the near future where you join me and we talk about some things. We can talk about your website, but then we can also talk about some of the things you've done with vendors and marketing and you know, some of the new stuff that you're working on. I think that would be a fun episode. So we'll do that another time. Hey Jerry, what's up? I hope this is at least as entertaining as watching you play on Twitch the other day was for me. But you know, unfortunately, I'm not wearing my yellow bathing suit and no shirt. That would, you know, my fedora. That would, and machine gun. That that would be much more interesting. Okay, let's go ahead and pull up the next person. Sorry guys, I'm on the other screen trying to figure out which one we want to go to next. All right. So I probably got about 15 different people who jumped to the front of the list, and we're not going to even get to all of those today. I'm going to do this again soon, at least next week. I'll do it again, but I may do that even sooner. We'll see how this goes. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and look at Josh's site here. Well, that's the site. Let's go ahead and do the brand search the same way that I did before. Expression Studios. Okay. It's interesting that he's got a .org. All right, let me go tag him real quick in the group so that he knows he's up. Oh, it looks like Caleb had a link for mobile. Okay, so let's go ahead and give Josh a tag. All right, cool. Oh, he's there. Cool. He just commented right as I was posting that. Excellent. All right, Josh, let's go ahead and look at your site. So first thing that I noticed whenever I did that is you have a .org, which is interesting. It's not necessarily bad, but org is definitely intended for organizations, not necessarily businesses. Key Moment Films. Hey, Corey, will this be on replay? Just popped in. Yes, you can definitely watch this. It should automatically just post to the YouTube channel afterwards, and you should be able to still watch it there. So yeah, .org is meant for organizations. It's available to buy for anyone. It's not like a .gov or .edu where you have to, you know, get approved to be able to purchase it. But you know, it's one of those things where if you're not an organization and you are using it, it's possible that it could play into your ranking so that Google says, hey, this is not an organization. Why are they using a .org? We need to question whether we can trust the other things that we find here. I won't say that it directly impacts ranking like that, but I will say that is something that Google could certainly look at. Okay, so I recently got expressionstudiosphotography.com and redirected. Is that the best strategy? Yeah, what I would do is, I like exactly what David said here. I would go .org to .com. Make sure you do a full 301 redirect so that you transfer all of the domain authority or anything that you have built in right now over to the .com. That's what I would do. I do like that the expressionstudios.org is shorter, but I think it's better to have the .com in my opinion. It's just it's a little bit of preference, but it also kind of is one of those unspoken rules. It's like if you're not an organization, don't use .org. And so that's where I would go with that. Okay, so the other issue here is that when I do type in Expression Studios just like that, which is how your brand is listed here, we have some other issues here. For one, you have expressionstudios.biz, you have expressionstudio.com, we have Expression Studios on Facebook, which may or may not be you, Inkwood, Ohio, Holland, Michigan, so I assume that's not you. Here you are here. And then we have Microsoft Expression Studio, tool for designing and building Windows client applications. So it's discontinued as far as development. It was trialware. It's old. Probably not going to have any kind of trademark issues. Probably not. It's a software and you're a photographer. But if I type in a name, Allison says, curse the time difference. Here now I'm watching everything from the beginning. Allison, if you're watching from the beginning, I'm not sure if you're going to hear me now. You'll probably hear this in like 30 minutes and be like, oh, hey. But I don't know where you're tuning in from. Let us know if you do hear this in the chat. So anytime you have, Josh, I'm not sure if you hear one in the beginning. I was talking about entities and the way that Google views entities. Whenever type in Expression Studios, even though it's not exact match, their map on the knowledge graph is, or the, I need to look that up. Hang on. I don't want to sound like an idiot. Okay, it is knowledge graph. Just making sure, because Facebook has their own graph, and I can't remember what they call it. Open graph. That's right. OG. Duh. Knew that. So yes, knowledge graph. By the way, random little tidbit here. Google Inside Search. Just go, like I just did, type in Google Knowledge Graph and check this out. And it's got some really cool information about how they use the knowledge graph. Get your answers no matter where you search. Like, there's some really cool stuff here. Definitely worth looking into. But anyway, what I was trying to tell you is that whenever we type in Expression Studio, Google has saved this information from Microsoft onto the knowledge graph. So you have to overcome that. So my first tip to you, as far as your brand and the way that you handle it with Google, is that you want to absolutely all the time with anyone be consistent with the way that you use it. But you might benefit from adding another word here to make this a distinct entity. So if we could make it Expression Studios Photography, we have Expression Studios of Photography here. Another Expression Studios here, but if you make it Expression Studio Photography, let's just type that in. You'll start to get rid of that knowledge panel, and then you just have to fight with anyone else who's got the same name. So this is always tricky when you have a brand that other photographers are also using, or anyone else is already using. You really have to think about whether it's important enough for you to go ahead and create a different brand or slightly change your brand. I actually have worked with a couple of people before. One of them, she was using her name, but she was using it with photography, and it was the way that she was using it. Someone else had trademarked it, and they were in the same city, and it was potentially enforceable. And it was like, sometimes you really have to be careful with this kind of stuff. Anyway, let's not get too much more into that. Let's go ahead and talk more about your website and SEO. This plays a huge role in your SEO in general. So that's why I wanted to spend some time talking about it, because people overlook this. They're like, well, how can I do some stuff on my page and make that better, and all of a sudden I have good SEO? And that's not exactly how it works. Like, if your brand isn't recognized by Google, as a strong entity with where they have trust and authority built into that entity that they've saved information about, it really doesn't matter what else you're doing in some cases. I'm not saying that in this case this is going to overrule anything else that you do. It's not that big of a deal necessarily, but I'm just wanted to tell you that's why I was spending some time on it here. You do have inline site links here, and one other person does as well. Typically when you see inline site links after any search or any kind of site links, it does indicate that Google is now sure that this is probably the site that you're looking for. Typically you don't see more than one site with site links, so we have 2 here. This is uncommon, but in this case, whenever I type in Expression Studios Photography, Google doesn't know the difference between this .biz and your .org. And the .com even comes before those 2 with site links, but maybe it's just their structure isn't good. Maybe it would have site links as well. So there's 3 different businesses here, and Google isn't sure which one people are looking for. This is going to make it extremely difficult for you to ever have great branded search. Okay. All right, let's move on. Also, I don't know which one of these is you. There's a lot of different stuff here. Let's go ahead and look at your website. Let's see. I'm going to give you my initial thoughts. I'm just going to take a drink of water while I'm looking at this. Okay, I have a couple ideas based on reading that. Okay. So my initial thoughts, my initial impact, or the initial impact that this site has on me. Sorry, I'm just checking. My phone's going off here. Okay. I kind of wonder right off the bat, why am I seeing more from Expression Studio whenever I get to the site? Like, I haven't seen anything from you yet, so why am I seeing more from you? I'm wondering if this is some sort of... I wonder if this is a bug, if this is supposed to be at the bottom. Shape wrapper. Sorry, I'm not going to get much into that. Ah, it's an intro video. Makes sense. Just hit refresh on that. And by the way, whenever people are in the research phase, one of the things that they will often do is open a bunch of things in tabs and then come back to them later. So if what was happening to me just now, happened in this situation, it will probably happen to other people as well. Certainly worth considering making this a video that loops. One of my friends who's a videographer recently had some issues with his site where Chrome in one of the most recent updates made it so that videos cannot autoplay with sound ever. I think. I can't remember the rules. You don't have any sound here, and it seems like it's autoplaying fine, but just something to keep in mind. You have to be a little careful with the way that you use background videos. The way he was using it wasn't compliant with their new standards. But this is pretty long, so I feel like most people would probably see this, but it's better for it to never have to go to that end screen. If we can figure out a way to loop it, I would definitely do that. All right. I do think this is extremely difficult to read. Hall Michigan Wedding Photographer and Photography and Video Booth. All right, so I have an option to go to either one of those. And even when it ends, this is hard, and I would say I wanted to click these, but can't do that. So definitely get that fixed. Okay, so as far as the design goes, it's one of those things where I don't like to get too much into commenting on design because design is so subjective and it's such a personal thing. But my first impression is that this is not really a consistent design. I don't know exactly how I want to say this. It's not... I have the white background here, and then I have the black background here, and here I have horizontal image, here, and then a vertical here, and a vertical here. And then I go back to a white background. Like, I don't think that it's the worst thing ever. It's certainly like usable. So if I scroll through this website, I'm able to find what I'm looking for. I think that reading white text on a black background is very difficult, and it doesn't look like you're using, full white and black. This is definitely some less than full black shade of black. Let's see. Sorry, I have a bunch of people walking in. It's probably going to start getting loud here soon. I may have to leave relatively soon because they're going to have an event in my co-working space. I kind of wish that you carried this consistent white background throughout. Maybe have this intro video, and then that video is still just kind of tripping me up. How it starts off like it's a photo, and like this kind of fades in, and then it takes a while to start playing, and then it's I'm not a big fan of this banner. If you're going to use something like this, you've got to work on the execution of it so that it works every time perfectly. And I haven't even looked at this on mobile, so I don't know what that looks like there. I would just say I would like to see this white carried throughout. I don't think I need the black down here. And I feel like there's just so much space here. I'd like to see this photo maybe smaller or something. Again, I'm not a designer. I'm not necessarily... I shouldn't say I'm not a designer. I do design some things. I am not a professional graphic designer. That's not my main trade. So I would say maybe consult with one, but I'm not going to, like I said, you kind of get the idea. Wedding photographer is based in West Michigan, who happen to do other types of photography as well. Okay, Josh, go ahead and just you're here in the chat. You're responding to some of this. I want to hear from you. We have pictures of weddings. We're optimizing the title for weddings, both in Holland, Michigan, and in destination potentially. We start off with weddings here. We have photo booth, which are typically wedding related. We have portrait sessions, but we see an engagement session. And then down here, you go into, and by the way, we also do portraits, family, seniors, engagements, and studio headshots. We do video as well. And my question for you is, do you need to even say that? Like, if the main focus of your site is to attract wedding clients, maybe you don't even need to worry about telling people that you do that other stuff. Okay, so I know I was a wedding photographer for quite a few years. And I made my site so that it was optimized exclusively for weddings, engagements, and bridals. And I still, all the time, got people calling me, emailing me, hey, can you do my newborn session? Hey, I am graduating. Can you do senior photos for me? Hey, I'm doing, whatever, family pictures. People, even brides and grooms, still message me, even though I haven't done photography in almost a year now. And they ask, hey, can you do my family session? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. But it doesn't matter if you put it on your site. Like, I don't think this is enough to... People are sometimes like, well, what if someone comes in looking for that? I want to make sure that they know I do it. Well, this isn't enough to catch those people, but it is enough to kind of like distract from the main focus here. So just something to think about. I can't tell you how to run your business. I can tell you as far as optimization goes and optimizing for experience. We're down here at this really critical part of the site. Whenever someone gets to the end, hey, I like they don't have an Instagram widget or anything like that down here. But if you want to get people to your about page, this section should probably grab people's attention to get them to go to the About Us page. All right, that's what this should do. I do like that you have this, keyword here. I would rather see it up here. If you're going to say we're wedding photographers based in West Michigan, why not put that right here? Near the top of the page, whenever someone lands here, they would immediately see it. And then, here you could make this say we offer photo booths, blah, 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 whatever it is. Photo booth service in Grand Rapids and surrounding areas, something like that, whatever it is. Engagement and other portrait sessions. And maybe this learn more goes to the page that then talks about potentially other types of portrait sessions. I'm just going to check over here. Sorry, I have some stuff covering up my comments. Good point. My thought was to brand for one or two things, but not to exclude the family's headshots. But I think you're right. I really do think that you could, if you're going to do that, just put it over on your portraits page. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, first of all, before I click this, never use learn more for buttons. Okay, tell them what they're learning more about. Give it some sort of text. That's going to count as the anchor text, most likely. And so use like wedding portfolio or wedding information, and here, portrait information, something like that. So use specific text. Don't use learn more, click here, anything like that. We're going to go ahead and go to About Us as well. And while we're at it, I'm going to do the same thing I did on this other site. I always like to do a site search here. Interesting that this is ES Photo Booth Rental, West Michigan, almost like it's a different brand altogether. Again, going back to the beginning, you got to think about how Google thinks about entities. And you have a separate photo booth packages page. We have a weddings.html page. What's that all about? Okay, that redirects. Make sure that's redirecting to the same place as this. Okay, it does. We're good. Team Cats staff. Look, we got to translate this page, and we got a lorem ipsum here. So go ahead and make sure that this is deleted if it's not already. So we can still access it. So yeah, delete that page. Easy to do. Anything else where you don't want it showing up, and this is something you don't need showing up in the index, delete that. Or no index it. So definitely some technical issues here with indexation. Oop. Hang on, let me see if I can. Gotta move this out of the way. I'm gonna snooze my notifications there. All right. All right. So we're not gonna get too much more into that. There are some things here that you need to clear out of your index. About Us. I like the fact that you have a video here.
Hey everybody. Hey. We are Josh and Carrie with Expression Studios.
What's up, guys? Again, the same thing I mentioned before. You want to make sure that you optimize these videos as well, or that you optimize the page for video content. I can't get too much into that right now, but this probably could be a good result where this page could show up as a video result. You'll need to make sure that the Vimeo video is marked up with the right kind of schema markup to show up as a video result. I would still make the title of this video include your brand name and make sure that it has a link back to your site in the description. Those are the bare minimum for optimizing these types of videos. Okay, so one of the things that I like to talk to people about when it comes to conversion is we want to lead people down a path of conversion, right? So in this case, the path is they went on the home page and they scrolled down to the bottom. Let's just say that the most important thing was to click About. Now, they might have gotten sidetracked and gone to one of these, which is probably what you want. They came here. But let's just say they did land on that About page. Well, the next step on the path needs to be clear here somewhere. So if I look at this, I'm like, okay, well, now what? You told me what to do earlier, but now you're not telling me what to do. So definitely let people know what to do next, whether that's go over to a portfolio page, whether that is go to the contact page, whatever you want it to be, make sure that they have that step. Don't use click here. If you're going to link to someone else's video services, okay, so that's, okay, you're offering it through them. My recommendation for you, this is, again, I can't tell you how to run your business, but my recommendation would be to have a page on your site that is Mind's Eye Moment videos and link to that page. Don't link externally if you can help it, okay? And have some examples of the stuff that you're offering through them right there on your site. All right, so my thought on this page is that I think you need to cut out these portfolios or these like full weddings. What I would do here is I would recommend making these two, this Lance and Lydia plus whatever the other couple's names are, make those blog posts, and then down here link to those blog posts so that they can go see the full thing. I think this is too much information on this page. It's too much scrolling. When we get to the bottom, we're kind of exhausted. Plus, we don't have the next thing to do. Let's keep it simple. Let's keep this. So you have this information. Good. Offering video services. Good. Show an example right here maybe. And then have like recent weddings and have 3 different weddings listed there where they can see full weddings. And then under that, get in touch to set up a consultation today, whatever it is, whatever your call to action is. One other thing that I noticed earlier on the homepage is you do like mention one idea would be set up an engagement session. Why don't you have a page on your site that is specifically for engagement sessions? And maybe that's under portrait sessions. I'm not sure. And have a really easy call to action, like show some examples and maybe some example posts. So again, it's not so long. Show some examples and then have a call to action for people to book those sessions. And then link that here on the homepage where you talk about that. Maybe say, blah, 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 get to know your photographer, and then like set up your engagement session here and have a place where they can go or learn more about our engagement sessions and they can click that. All right, so I don't want to get too much more into this. I feel like in general, what needs to be done here on your site is that you need to figure out your brand situation. You need to be a little bit more consistent with the design, and then you need to be a little bit more concise once people get to the page that they're going to, and you need to have a really clear path of conversion so that you lead people to do the things that you want them to do. Hopefully that makes sense. And that's a good, I don't want to overwhelm you and give you a bunch of other SEO things and all this stuff. I think that's a good place to start, and you should be working on those things first. And then I think maybe, in a few weeks, whenever you've done some of that stuff, come back and maybe we can talk more. Jump on one of these. Again, I'm going to try to make these more regular so you can jump on another time and we can talk about it. All right, let me go ahead. I have enough time to maybe do one more review. Then I'm going to have to get going. Like I said, there's an event going on here. All right, Kathy, let's go ahead and do yours. Oh, that's not it. Open it on my other screen. Thanks for the coffee, by the way. All right. And by the way, anybody else who already bought me coffee or gave me a tip or anything like that, you are definitely still at the top of my list, and we're going to get back to these more soon. Hang on just a second. Caleb, do you need something? So we'll definitely be doing this more in the future, and I'm going to definitely get to those who have already done that. They'll stay at the top of the list until I get through them. All right, let's go ahead and do the brand search for Emerald Eye Photography. And Kathy, if you're here, go ahead and leave a comment so I know you're here. I'm just going to look at one more message real quick before I start on that one. Got a bunch of comments over here, guys. I'm just checking on this really to see really quick. Okay. Again, Kathy, if you're here on YouTube, make sure to leave a comment so that I can see that you're here and we can interact while I'm doing this. But otherwise, you can definitely just come check this out anytime. Okay, so we did an Emerald Eye Photography brand search. Emerald Eye Photography, we're looking for Emerald Eye Photography, emeraldeyephoto.com. Just make sure that's the same. Okay, so the knowledge graph panel is yours. That's good. 4 reviews on Google. It's a good start. Definitely, we have 22 on Facebook. Same thing I said earlier in the video. Try to move more toward getting more reviews on Facebook if possible. Your site does come up first. We have some inline site links again here. Then we have this 5 ways confirmation page. Let's check out that because I'm not sure what that is. 5 ways to preserve memories as your little ones grow. View your tips now. So also you have an opt-in here. Have another opt-in here. I would no index this if you don't want people landing on it directly from Google search. And if you do want people landing on it from Google search, make sure that you title this in a way that makes it more appealing to click. Oop, just got another coffee. Thanks, guys. Again, I'm not going to be able to get to any more reviews after this one today, but I will continue to get to them. Now, if I get to 150 people who bought me coffee, it's still going to take a while to get through them. But I'm definitely working through them as fast as I can. Okay, so let's see. Photography, Cape Cod newborn and family photographer. Cape Cod. All right, first, right off the bat, we've got to talk about this. No HTTPS. And this is just an absolute bare minimum these days. You've got to get on HTTPS, okay? No 2 ways around that. I'm just trying to guess which platform you're on. Looks like a Squarespace template. And Squarespace. Okay, so with Squarespace, the cool thing is that you have HTTPS automatically enabled. Watch this. Magic right here. Boom, still works. All you have to do is go in on Squarespace into settings, security, SSL, and then I think that's where it is. It's something like that. And then you have to force SSL, and there's a little thing, you switch it, and then there's like another little checkbox. You can enable that or not. It doesn't really matter. I forget what it's called. Not a big deal. You just have to force the HTTPS. All right. So right now, if I go to the non-HTTPS version, that's going to come up, and Google is indexing the non-HTTPS version. All right. So make sure you go into Squarespace, force HTTPS, and then if you're using Search Console, which you should be, make sure that you have the HTTPS version added so that you're going to be able to get that data. All right, so just looking to see what else we got here. Okay, close that. All right, first impressions. Sorry if there's sound in the background. There's an event going on here. It should be fine though. Okay. I want to be careful how I say this because it's not intended to be insulting, and I really like to try to keep these as positive as possible. I know a few people on there were like, be mean if you want. I'm never going to try to be mean, and that's never my intention. One of the things, though, in this particular layout is that, to me, it feels dated, okay? The font choice, the color, the fact that it's in a box, like you've got this in a contained width, just the way that all of the lines are so straight and the fonts are so simple and spread out. Like I just feel like in general the design feels a little too dated to me. It feels like something that was really common. Like it looks like a site I used whenever I first got started, in the 2008, 2010, 11, 12, like in that range. Like the sites that looked like this were really popular. And even though this is a newer template, it's obviously a Squarespace template. It's not a new one. Like, they've had this one for a while, but and it looks good. It's responsive. Like, that would be bad. If it looked like this and it weren't responsive, then we'd have a problem. But it is, and it works. Okay, so don't take that to mean it's bad, it's terrible, this design is horrible. It just, to me, doesn't necessarily feel up to date when it comes to kind of web standards. I look at a lot of photography websites, and so that's just kind of my general opinion. Definitely take that with a grain of salt and kind of do what you want with it. I do feel like this image is kind of a weird proportion, though, because like if I'm on a pretty large monitor, not like a really large monitor, but you can see here that it doesn't. It's hard for me. Like, I just have to get this just right to even get the whole image in the screen. There's really not a whole lot of room to get like. So I guess that's just my thought here. I do like the fact that you have like a quote that is. It's going to kind of pull at the heartstring. It's going to be that, hey, this is what I'm all about. You don't understand the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. And these things are so short, and you're gonna have to look back at your photos to be able to relive them. Like, you're definitely appealing to that parent. And one of the things is that this is text on an image, so it's not necessarily something that's going to be helpful with search engines. But in this case, like, it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't really matter that much if this is helpful for search engines, because it's not like rich text that's going to make a big difference in your ranking. But just something to think about. When that really comes into play is, let's do this again. Whoops. There we go. Notice that whenever I'm on mobile, it's really small. Okay. So this is, a large version. So like if I run a small phone, it would be really hard to even read that. Also, same thing here. Let's go back to desktop. Okay, these are just images. Okay, so in this case, like it looks like, is this one image or is this multiples? It looks like all of this is one image, potentially. It is. So as far as like responsiveness, if you made these separate images, they would be able to stack on mobile and people will be able to see them a little bit better. I think that might be worth doing here. Natural light, newborn photographer, based in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, photographing all Massachusetts and Rhode Island. All right, so first of all, you have Fresh 48, newborn, lifestyle, families, and photo classes. And down here, you have newborn, lifestyle, Fresh 48, family photos. Those need to link to these. Whenever I see this in bold here, I need to be able to click it and go to those pages. That's an easy thing you can implement right away. The HTTPS and that you could do within 5 minutes, and you'll already have started to improve your site structure. You'll have already started to improve your security. So it's definitely worth doing right away. Your photos are beautiful. Great moments in there. Okay. See if that's the same thing. Oh, we got a pop up. I'd like to hear that. So, Kathy, you're here in the chat. Tell me more about how this is doing for you. Is your pop-up and your free client guide, is that bringing you a lot of leads? Do you get a lot of people filling that out? Do you have more people fill that out, or do you have more people fill your contact form out? This is something that I'm researching more. I know a lot of people have different opinions about this, and I'm curious to hear how it's working in practice for you. Okay, one thing that I want to point out here is that since I got to your site, I have seen the word free once there. I feel like I saw it one more time. Maybe it was when I was first searching. this free here. I saw free, and then once I get over here, I see discount. Okay, these are little things that may not seem like a big deal, but these are subtle things that your brain is always picking up on. And whenever I see free, and discount 3 times within the first couple of pages, what I'm starting to think is cheap. I'm starting to think about price. You have other words like comfortable, fun, relaxed. You have, preserving memories. You have this stuff, so you're going in the right direction there. I would potentially take this out of your navigation, especially this free. I don't think that you want to put free right in people's faces. You're telling me that the contacts form is more popular. They're usually going to download this after I get back to them. If that's the case, then take it out. Like, it's too much. There's too many items in this navigation, first of all. I like to keep it around 6, maybe 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You could take welcome out and put a link here, which you already do. And you could take this out and you would have a much simpler navigation. What is business life? I'm not sure what that even means. Behind the scenes, business photo sessions, real life, only better. So it's like business branding, photography, potentially. I like this. It's cool. It's just one of those things where I didn't know what it was when I was going to click on it. And it might be another thing that you could move over to portfolio pricing and put that down here. I like the fact that you have some things bolded because it lets me skim, but this is a little bit hard since they break lines. What I would do with your client guide personally is I would have them fill out the contact form, and when they do, I'd put the client guide on the thank you page. Some of these things, may be worth shortening this form. Like this. All 3 of these could potentially be gone, and they say if you reduce the number of forms, you potentially increase the number of form fills by up to 5%, maybe sometimes even more. Who knows? These statistics are all over the place, but you increase your likelihood of people filling out the form significantly. Every field that you remove, up to a point. I saw a study, actually, I think I posted it in the Fuel Your Photos group, where someone proved that was not true in every case, and that sometimes adding more forms actually increased the number of people that filled it out. But in this case, is this something that you have to know right off the bat? You have to decide that for yourself. It could be that this is really important. This is one of those things that's nice to know, but better tracking and better analytics, and maybe asking a follow-up question or something could be worth it. I don't necessarily think you have to have this in here. But anyway, just something to think about. Can you shorten that up? All right, so if you're going to give them surprise client gifts, maybe don't mention it because it's not a surprise. Just a thought. I'm not laughing at you. I just thought it was funny because of the way I was thinking about it. It makes me think about my kids. I feel like when I get down to this section at the bottom, like all these lines, I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like I've been sitting here looking at this, and I have been standing up for, an hour and a half doing this, and so like my mental focus is gone a little bit, but I feel confused when I get to this section right here where it's 1, 2, 3, 4 different sections divided by lines, all within like one view. Again, if your contact form is more often getting you conversions, then make that the main call to action here, and don't even worry about this part. Just make this one big contact me call to action, and then give them that on the thank you page. Having this testimonial is nice. I wonder if there's a way that we can style it so that it's not quite so confusing with all of this in one big stack like that. Let's look at your blog. If there's only one drop down, let's get rid of the drop down. Just make this so I can click on blog instead of having to hover and then click on photo sessions blog. I assume if you sometime in the past had more under that and maybe just removed them, but go ahead and change that back so that you can just click on blog. Here is another situation where it looks like, your more recent blog posts are maybe a little bit better optimized. This is really nice. Summer on the Cape, family photos on Paponset. Is that how you say that? Paponset, whatever it is, beach. That's a good post that's really easy to optimize for this specific beach, family session on this beach. And it's not competing with Massachusetts family photographer, Cape Cod family photographer, whatever it is that you're targeting with your homepage. Let's go back to that and see. Cape Cod, newborn, and family photographer. All right, so this is a good time to talk about something that I think a lot of people will benefit from. If your homepage title, let's look at it here, is Cape Cod, newborn, and family photographer, you have to think about the fact that you're separating your terms, okay? So your location term and your photography term are separated by this ampersand family when it comes to this newborn term. So Cape Cod newborn photographer, Cape Cod family photographer, those are two separate terms. Now, don't get me wrong in saying that I'm not saying that Google can't figure out what you're talking about here, but I am saying that if you make it very specific, Google is more confident at what they're looking at, okay? So is there a way that you could get both of those where you have at least one of them all together? Okay, so maybe a term that you're trying to optimize for, or a variation of the term, is newborn photographer Cape Cod. Okay, well then what you could do is say family and newborn photographer Cape Cod. But see how if you did that, if I type it in like this, I'll type it so you can see it. Cape Cod. This is still grouped together as a keyword phrase, and this family and doesn't disturb it anymore. It could be the other way around. It could be newborn and family photographer Cape Cod. A family photographer Cape Cod was one of your terms. It's hard to know without looking at all of the variations that are getting search volume, but that's just an example that I wanted to give you, because other people sometimes are like, well, how do I do it if I have to? Like, you just have to be creative. You just have to potentially change it around a little bit, and it can make a big difference in the way that you get value out of a specific term. But otherwise, this looks good. It's the right length. It has your brand name. It has your keywords. A slight shift here could make a little bit of a difference for you, but overall that looks pretty good. And then let's do a site search. Local business connections, slideshow. See, like these titles are not necessarily as good. This could be fine, but I don't know what that means necessarily. I get it when I read the meta description. I feel like some of these are better optimized than others. So maybe just kind of going through, doing this site search for yourself and figuring out what things you haven't optimized yet and spending some time on those. That could be helpful. It looks like you're doing a pretty good job in general of not competing with your main terms here with some of these secondary terms. Family photography, Cape Cod. So if you were to do what I said earlier and change it around so that it's family photography, newborn and family photography Cape Cod, then it would maybe potentially be competing with this page. Maybe you want your family's page to be optimized for families and your newborns page to be optimized for newborns, and you want to focus on general photography terms on the home page. You said some of those are really old links. Is there a way to delete old pages? Yes. In Squarespace, you just go into the page settings and you click deactivate, I think. So I think that's the terminology they use. But you basically can just say to not display that page anymore. You can make it active so that viewers can see it. You can make it unactive or inactive so that people cannot see it. You can also delete them. As far as deleting them from the results, you can go into Search Console and request that they remove a URL if it's really important, but I would stay away from that if possible. You have that blog 1, blog 2. Yeah, if you leave them unlinked, that doesn't do it. You have to go in and deactivate them or delete them. New page, that's another one that you want to get rid of. So yeah, fixing up some little things like that. Like I said, maybe no indexing this or something. I think that's probably not something that people need to see here when they do a brand search. Thinking about that whole free and how you're talking about pricing and the language that you're using on your website. There is a course. Actually, someone mentioned it in the group the other day, and I'm going to be promoting it relatively soon as I can take some time to look through it. But there's Irresistible Website and Irresistible Words. They're on psychologyforphotographers.com, I think. I think that's the URL. And they cover some of the kind of stuff like that. Like, what is the psychology of the way that you're saying these things? How do people think and feel whenever they read these words like free and discount and things like that? Are you setting yourself up for people to always be negotiating pricing, or are you making it easy for people to find the value and book you for what you're worth? Okay, so I think that I've given you a few actionable things here. I think that at some point, it's probably not a terrible idea to think about moving to one of the more modern Squarespace templates, but it's not a huge priority. Huge priority would be make sure you get your messaging right, make sure you figure out the flow. Do you want people to fill this out, or do you want people to fill out your contact form? Do you go ahead and get a thank you page set up? Get HTTPS set up. There was one other big thing I told you. Oh, links. Internal links. Link to your most important pages. I don't think I looked at one of those. Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah. Yeah, and then the ending, like making this really clear so people know exactly what to do next. Those are the things I'd work on for now, and hopefully that's helpful for you. I'm going to go ahead and sign off for today. This has been about an hour and a half. That's probably a pretty good length. Maybe an hour would be better so I don't start to fade here at the end. But I'm going to try to do this again. I'll probably do another one this week, but if not, I'll definitely do one next week, and we'll get to the next people on the list. All right. If anybody has any follow-up questions, feel free to, I don't know if you'll still be able to post them on the video whenever I stop this. I think it turns into regular comments, but I can't remember. Oh, no, they've updated that recently. So you may still be able to comment there on YouTube, or you can come over to the Facebook group and join the conversation there. And, oh, by the way, while you're over here, if you're still here, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Because I will be posting these more often, and you should get, if you turn on notifications, you should get a notification of when I'm live if you subscribe to the YouTube channel. All right, I will talk to y'all again soon.